Okay.
So we just saw Obsession, and we're kind of talking about it. So what were you saying, Rosie?
I was basically saying that there's a reason why magic is typically, any level of work, it's a closed practice. It's not typically open to the public. A lot of people are interested in learning how to do magic, learning how to work people, and they don't come from that particular bloodline. There's rules to it. You can't just do random acts. So we just saw this movie session, and this guy wanted nothing more than for this girl to love him. And it seems innocent enough, but the problem with that is that request could go against that person's will. And anytime you're doing any level of magic or work, that's like rule number 1. You don't go against the natural laws of nature. You don't go against somebody else's will. Why not? Because it returns to you in the inverse. It's not going to be what you think it's going to be. And so we saw that in this movie. So what did we see?
We saw him wish for his wildest dream to come true, and it became his worst nightmare. Even though he got what he wanted, he got way more than he asked for, and it was a terrible nightmare. And it's basically like a modern day monkey's paw story. And that's why it's important in your life to always ask for things, but you pray to God and you say, God willing, may your will be done. It'd be cool if this happened, that'd be great, but I accept your will and not try to force your will, because you might not know what you want, and what you really think you want could be a terrible nightmare, as we found out in this movie.
And you never want to go against someone else's will. So if you are secretly pining for someone, which I think it's human nature to have a crush on somebody, but if it's against their will, you really don't want that love. Ask yourself that question. Do you really want somebody who doesn't want you?
Right.
No. You can do better, move on, the right person will come. Because if you do stuff like this and you try to, cross that line and go into a spiritual world, as we saw in the movie, you're inviting something else in. So this girl that he loved or was attracted to, he thought he was getting her sex. He thought he was getting her attention, her love, affection. It wasn't. He was intertwining himself with a particular spirit. And that happens a lot. People start doing magic or a certain level of work, and they open up a door, and then they can't close it. They don't know who to talk to close it. It's just a headache. So just avoid it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was interesting too. It wasn't even Nikki. Nikki was trapped inside Nikki was trapped in a different realm, it seemed like, and she was only able to come out when demon Nikki was sleeping. Real Nikki was able to come out and say, please kill me, And then when he made the phone call to the people that owned the wish making, what do they call it? The wishing willow?
Uh-huh.
One wish willow. When he made the call, he heard Nikki's real soul being tortured, and it wasn't good. So, and it wasn't even like Nikki, because that sarcasm that Nikki had, the standoffishness and playfulness, was just completely gone, and it was just a drone that just, the only thing Nikki wanted to do was stare at Bear and just obsess over him with none of her own personality.
Mm-hmm. And you can see this darkness, and it was a spirit. It was some type of demonic entity that had found a portal and was able to come in. And it found its way because it preys on people's weaknesses and their desires and his desperation. And yeah.
It was interesting a couple times. I think when he searched up something about the One Wish Willow, he saw the Mandela effect popped up. So then when he went into the psychic store later on in the movie, and he couldn't find it at first, I was like, oh, this is going to be a Mandela effect. It might have even been cool if the owner of the shop said, what are you talking about? We've never had those. And then those didn't even exist. That would open up another door. But it didn't go that way. And the owner's like, yeah, you got to wish correctly, man. You got to be careful with your wishes, or whatever he was saying. He was saying something basically buyer beware, and that's on you. So I guess, who do you think the owners of these wishing willows are. Just like Satan, or like, what do you think?
I think it was somebody who
Put it out
probably
there.
was into demonic activity. I don't think it was like a real disembodied entity, demon or anything like that, but I think it probably was some low vibe folks that did some conjure. And so, there's something to be said about that too. When you go into these spiritual shops, we do not know the intentions of the people selling the product. We don't know what they're talking to, what they're doing behind closed doors. So you have to, feel out a space energetically.
Yeah.
And always clean your stuff, sage, and do your own stuff. Like, some people make their own candles. Some people do their own sage. I've done my own sage. All you have to do is go to the grocery store. You can use green sage, green, white, it doesn't matter, it works the same. Just be careful. But I think most important lesson behind the movie is to guard your intentions. His intention was to find love, and that is not what he got. And so you have to look at that. Have to look at the intention and then the way that one goes about to get that type of love, which is what he wanted.
Let's move this inside. And it definitely was a scary movie. It was interesting for us because I never sit in the front row of movies. I don't think anybody likes to, but that was the only tickets available. It was a last minute decision, and we decided to go watch it. And we sat in the front row. Now, what made it bearable is that this was the AMC that had the reclining chairs, so we were able to basically look up at the movie. But the movie was very distorted because it was at an odd angle and kind of warped a bit. But that only added to it because we were just completely immersed in the movie. It was like taking up our entire field of vision. And then the faces were just kind of warped like an odd mirror because we were so close looking up at it. And it had plenty of jump scares, but definitely the scariest parts of the movie were actually when she just moved in very unnatural, unhuman ways. Like, all of a sudden it was like somebody hit the rewind button and she was walking backwards for no reason. You have this moment where there's all this close intimacy, and it's like, I love you, and it feels familiar. It feels like you're in this close personal thing, and then all of a sudden that person does something completely alien, dangerous, and just that you would never expect, that just sends shivers down your spine. And yeah, that was definitely full of jump scares. And even when I called them, I knew she was going to come break the window when they were sitting in the car. Even when I knew that was going to happen, it was still a jump scare that got us. And then I didn't realize how graphic it would be when she smashed the girl's face into the brick and, basically showed her broken skull and all that. That was pretty gross.
Yeah, pretty intense. So he saw a lot of red flags the entire time. And that goes back to relationship dynamics. You have to see what's really there. All of us have made this mistake. We want to see what we want to see. As soon as he saw those red flags, he probably should have gotten out of Dodge. Or he should have put up some healthy boundaries and said, you can't stay the night. She was just overextending herself. When he asked for space, and he said, I think you should go to your place for a day, let us get things sorted emotionally. She wasn't willing to do that. So that's a red flag. She doesn't respect him as a person, doesn't respect his personal boundaries. I think, too, the character was emotionally fragile. He was having his own mental health issues. He had anxiety. He was taking sleeping pills, and he dealt with insomnia. So there's some type of mental health issue going on there with him. And he couldn't stand up for himself.
Well, I think that's a big part of the whole movie, is that Bear is extremely weak. He is super insecure, shy, weak, can't say what he means, can't get what he wants. He's basically like a complete pushover. And just like what you said, when he needed to set boundaries, he couldn't do it at all. And that's actually a fun thought that basically a fun game I like to play is you put yourself in the characters within these movies and you say, at what point would I have done something different? So for this movie, it would be, at what point would you go to the police and completely cut off Nikki? For me, that would be as soon as she taped the door
that probably would have been it. But then as soon as I'm eating a dead cat, that would have been over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely over. When would you have done it?
I'm trying to recall like the exact scenes, but I know the party scene was pretty freaky. When she self-harmed at the party, which, you know, kind of to me, like he definitely took her to the hospital. Any other normal situation, she would have been committed because she couldn't contract for safety and she hurt herself. But in the movie, she was not. And he had to take her back to his house. I never would have. I would have driven her straight to the police. Because if she can't contract for safety, which basically means keep herself safe, promise not to hurt herself or others, my personal safety is not, you know, in good standing. And he was sleeping in the bed with her and he wasn't going to sleep. He was just, she had a lot of control.
Yeah.
She had a lot of control.
Yeah, she was everything he ever wanted.
Everybody wants love. Most people want love. They want partnership, but you want it to be genuine and you want it to come to you naturally. If you have to manipulate your environment to make an outcome come to be, edit that part out. It's going to go south. And see, I'm glad about this part. The movie really showcased the fact that you can open up portals. You can invite demonic entities, or not even demonic, just disembodied entities that are just hanging out, have not crossed over, and they're just in the swing of things. Now, I think it was something demonic because when he called that number, that guy didn't seem surprised. He had the soul of his friend, Nikki. She was being tortured in the background.
Yeah.
And so he was doing this a lot. And remember when he went into the store and she was like, you can buy it, but a lot of people complain and they call and they want help like reversing it and you can't do it. There was definitely some conjure.
Yeah, that person that he called was actually totally messing with him, like literally from the beginning. Like, would you like us to put in a cancellation request? Like he like played him along like he was a customer service guy and then basically laughed at him and freaked him out with the trapped soul of Nikki. Now, something Rosie said is she felt bad for Nikki, and of course we all feel bad for Nikki. I mean, she basically didn't do anything and had this all thrust upon her. And then Rosie says, and so now she's going to, go to jail for doing all that? And I said there is a little bit of silver lining there, that at the end, it's possible that Nikki could potentially just blame everything on Bear and just say, hey, Bear's the one that snapped. He attacked me. Look at my face. It's all bruised and banged up. And he killed... I believe her name was Sarah, and then the other guy that was his friend who wished for the $1 billion. Which that's a sad moment, that when you come to your friend and you're trying to put your heart out on the line and tell your friend, hey, you really got to believe me about this. I really need your help. Please make this wish to set us free. That the friend still was like, no, I want $1 billion. And that just shows kind of a reflection of life. I feel like we've all had those moments where we really need a friend to either believe us or, kind of buy into what we're saying or do a favor that's like especially important. And then that moment when they refuse or don't take it seriously is always a hard moment. So we got to see that there and relate to it.
Now, what's interesting, and I don't know if a lot of people saw this, but Nikki and Sarah, their bodies were switched. Did you notice that?
No. Expand. So
at the end, okay, I hate to spoil this, but
no, this is a spoil.
It's a spoiler.
This whole thing is about our analysis of the movie.
So when Nikki basically takes Sarah's face and just smashes it into the steering wheel, she disfigures the face, but her body's still intact. And so she had a lot of tattoos, this young girl, and she was heavier than Nikki. So what she did was switch bodies. So when they were in the car and she was smoking the cigarettes, you could see the tattoo that she had here across her boob and the other tattoos going down her arm. So when he came back in that last scene, she had switched the bodies. And so you see a naked body of Nikki's, which is thinner with the messed up face, but with Sarah's body.
Wow, I did not catch that. And that's something I wish this was out on streaming so we could press rewind and double check that. But that's crazy. If that's true, what does that mean to you?
Well, she said at the end, does this make you happy now?
Am I pretty now? Do you like me now that I'm Sarah? And so her face was the same, but she took Sarah's body. So I think it'll be very interesting. Let's say, you know, hypothetically, the cops come and they say, and she gives them the storyline. Something happened. There was a body switching. She can't get out of Sarah's body.
Yeah. And then I called it at the end there when he went into the bathroom to try to kill himself, which once again showed his weakness one more time. He couldn't even pull the gun and kill himself that way. He had to take a more nice way out by swallowing the pills, a less violent route. And I was like, oh, I bet you she's going to wish that he loves her. And that's what he did. And that almost made me think, I wonder if it actually would have worked if he wished that she loved him more than anybody else in the world, and then she wished that he loved her more than anybody else in the world. I wonder if they could have lived happily together ever after.
That's a very good point. And I kind of wonder a little bit more about the storyline of this demonic entity, because it really wanted to stay in this realm. And she was just like, what did you do? What did you do? Oh my gosh. Because she knew that as soon as he died, it would be over. Mm-hmm. She would be sent back to whatever place she was in, and the real Nikki would be released.
Yeah.
So it was fighting this day. So Max, he mentioned all the body shifting. And I think in most of the movies that we see, anytime you see any type of contortion, it's like spirit demonic. And she was doing some demonic, like, evil moves towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That was pretty scary, and he should have never went back to the house. At any point in time, he could have gone to the police or called 911, and he just didn't. Again, he just was not... He was a little bit controlled by her.
Oh, totally.
He was having sex. He was having a lot of sex with her. And so he probably had a certain level of emotional buy-in. And then he also really believed that it was Nikki. But the real Nikki was able to come during dream time.
Yeah, that boy was completely whipped, and he was loving getting the pee and the attention in the beginning. But once he realized it wasn't really her, and it was just this empty, crazy drive for closeness and quote-unquote love, then he wanted to cancel it. He wanted to take it all back.
Very eerie kind of movie. I thought it was good. On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Like a 7.5.
I was thinking 8.5.
8.5, maybe. Maybe sometimes you have to watch a movie again. One aspect of this film that I think is going to bring up a lot of buried emotions and in a way that people can relate is this idea of being trapped in a relationship. I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that have been trapped in these abusive relationships or these controlling relationships where they're with somebody that's super lovey-dovey and then can flip on a dime from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde and become this terrifying, controlling, dominating presence that you can't escape sometimes, and you are trapped there with them. And it's a scary, terrifying feeling that obviously isn't to the same extent as it was in this movie, but I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that in their lives. And actually, to some people, it has been to that extent, to real violent abuse victims and stuff like that. It's probably been to that extent and even worse sometimes. So I'm sure it struck a chord there with a lot of people that have gone through something similar. There's a lot of relatable moments in this movie.
Yeah, totally, like hit a nerve. Because, yeah, she was like very controlling, domineering, but of course she's going to be insecure because she didn't want to leave that realm. He was dealing with the spirit, but it was unsettling. And it was distorted, right? Like her voice inflection was a little distorted at times. It wasn't the normal octave or tone that Nikki had. And that's what should have tipped him off. This doesn't even sound like the girl that I'm attracted to.
Yeah. One more interesting point I wanted to take a look at in this movie is that this was made by a young person. The director, I believe, is 26 years old. And there's kind of this wave of it right now with this movie and Backrooms that came out with a 20-year-old director. It felt like a film made by a new generation. It really did. It felt like something totally different. I feel like this movie and Backrooms and this era is the birth of the Gen Z director, and it just feels different. And I feel their perspectives a little more as a millennial myself. I felt the Gen Z energy. Did you pick up on any of that? Or now that I say that?
Now that you say that, I can totally see it, relate to it. And it is a little refreshing, you know?
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I really did. Like, I'm glad that you took us to the movies. Thank you for that.
Yeah, like the lingo and like just the way they would text with each other. Now, something I don't like in this movie, and this is something that is really common in a lot of movies, is how casually people lie to each other and how okay it is. Like, people just literally change their story. Like, it was basically looked at as completely okay when Nikki is asking Bear, hey, what'd you do on your day off? This is in the beginning of the movie before she's changed. And Bear goes, oh, well, I did so much. I did my taxes and I had to do this work and I had stuff around the house. And she's like, you just sat around all day. You didn't do anything. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I just sat around and watched TV. And it's like, what is up with the making it okay to just casually lie? Everybody just lies to suit their situation. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, it's just easy to lie and say I was doing this instead of that because it just makes it cooler in this moment, or it takes less pressure off the conversation. And I hope everybody isn't like that, because I really try to be as honest as possible. Obviously, everybody slips up, including myself. I'm not perfect, but I feel like in every movie, they just show people lying all the time, and they basically show it as completely justified, normal, part of everyday life. I hope that's not the case. It's possible it is, but I like to try to be honest, and I feel like it's better to live that way, and it's better if other people try to live that way too. Even if it's uncomfortable sometimes, telling the truth is pretty much always better.
Maybe they wanted to kind of show that was the way in for that particular demon, because when he made the wish in the car and he broke the stick, the first thing the demon did was lie to him. Mm-hmm. And remember how it kept mimicking him? And he'd ask Nikki, are you okay? And then the demon would say, are you okay? Mm-hmm. Well, how is your cat? I'm so sorry about my cat.
Yeah, your cat died? Oh, my dad died.
It was, yeah.
Or my dad has cancer, like whatever, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was its way in. Why is it doing that? I think that's like another wink by maybe the writers or the director that, hey, like attracts like. So he attracted that to himself. He attracted that level of, that's what I'm saying. You know, this is real. A lot of people don't believe in it. They don't believe in the spiritual side of things, but it is very real. Have to be very careful. It's cool to be open to it and want to learn, but you need to do it in a safe manner, with some guidance and ask. This kid, he was young, maybe a college kid. Yeah, they're in high school trying to go to college. He didn't have anybody to turn to help him get this entity out of the girl and break this curse. That's really what it was. It was kind of like a spell, but also a curse.
Oh, yeah. What was interesting, too, about it is how quickly it happened. It didn't take any preparation. He didn't need to go get the Eye of Newt. He didn't need to get her hair. He didn't need to go find some toad in a swamp and lick its skin. Like, he literally, all he did was say, I want Nikki to love me more than anybody else in the world, and then just broke this little tome, or this little stick, and then that put everything into place. But I guess it's possible that the warlock or witch or whoever created those things did all that beforehand so that it would have that power. And it was also interesting how cheap it was. What was it, like $6.99? Was that the price? Do you remember that price, or is that just
$6.99?
Yeah, $6.99.
So $6.99, of course, is $666, just with 2 inverted, or 999, same thing. Now, what we did notice on Nikki is that she did have the Eye of Ra tattooed on her. Mm-hmm. I don't know a whole lot about Egyptian mythology. The Eye of Ra is maybe good, and maybe the Eye of Horus is not so good, so maybe it was the Eye of Horus. We'll have to do some research, a deep dive on that one, but perhaps there was something there in her nature that opened it up. Again, I totally would watch it, like, to your point, you know, give it another go, mm-hmm. so that we can do a better review.
Yeah.
Because there's probably some other context clues that we didn't get, because we were, you know, when you're in the movie theater, you're having fun, you know, like you're in a crowd and it's dark.
And we didn't know we were going to do this post-movie analysis. And also, every time you watch a movie for a second time, you learn so much more about it. When you know what happens going into it, you can see all the foreshadowing. You can see how all the puzzle pieces fit together as they're happening. Where when you're watching it in real time, you might not even notice it, or you might not put the pieces together until you have a second or third watch. Or like when I was a kid, I watched The Matrix 15 times for me to actually figure out what was going on.
Yeah, totally. So I would recommend folks going to the movie theater and checking it out.
Be prepared to be scared and grossed out, though. Only if you have the stomach for that, and only if you're okay with handling some negative and chilling energy, because it definitely is heavy, violent, disturbing. Only if you feel comfortable doing that.
Definitely will light a little sage. Because, again, anytime we watch these, another tip, anytime you watch something that is low vibration, you do want to sage, light incense and candles, because you want that energy to stay clear. You don't want to invite that in to your space. Still like the movie.
Yeah, you know what? And it does really affect you, too, because Rosie and I went into the end of Backrooms. So our movie finished, and then there was about 15, 20 minutes left in the movie Backrooms. So we just snuck in to watch the rest of that. And I had this uneasy feeling because, like I said, we were front row, hyper immersed in this super visceral and disturbing movie. And then, I was watching it from kind of the doorway, and somebody like walked up behind me, and it just gave me the chills down my spine. I was like, is this person about to attack me? Do I need to be on guard? Like, I don't like letting somebody get directly behind me where I can't see what they're doing. And it's like, how paranoid am I being? Like, I probably wouldn't normally be like that in any other circumstance, but just because I saw this disturbing, hyper intense movie, I was like on guard, ready to defend myself. And because Rosie was in the bathroom at that time, so I didn't need to defend her too, luckily. But of course, nothing happened. But it was just, just be prepared for a heavy vibe, especially if you're seeing it in theaters where you can't pause it, you can't really look away, you can't turn down the volume. Like, you are getting every pixel and every sound wave direct injection to your brain. So be ready for it. And I think we'll end it there.
Sounds good.
Cheers.